I'll probably get a little bit emotional saying this, so please forgive me. But Rahmir's never allowed anyone really to know what happened to him this year. But a year ago, he got hurt and missed the whole season. And I sat there with him in my office, as he wept, and the opportunity came to come back this year, and he decided to come back with really no guarantees. His mom was really, really sick for the whole season. And I asked him to go home. President Gold intervened and got us in contact with doctors here that were taking care of his mom as she was preparing for hospice. And I asked Rahmir to go home, and he wouldn't go home. He had to play that game. He had to stay here with his teammates. Went home on the bye week. Asked me not just to tell anyone. He didn't want to be a distraction. Only let Emmett know. And they lost his mom. He lost his mom in November, and those are the kids that got me into coaching. Those are the men that keep me in coaching, and he's awesome. And so for him to go out there and do that today, for him to have that run, for us to have to get him out of the stands to get him to accept the MVP trophy, but it was never about him.
What's going on, everybody? Fall in, at attention. You are now locked into the season finale of the Husker Army podcast, brought to you by the fine folks right here over at Hurrdat Sports Network, of course, and the folks over at the Husker Army fan page over on Facebook. Make sure you go check those guys out. Become a member, of course. All right, I am your host, Brian Knutson. With me, as always, is our other host, former Husker wide receiver, multi-time national champ, Kenny Cheatham. Matt has the flu, so he will not be joining us today, so I hope he gets better. But our guest today is from Wired Access Podcast, Mr. DJ K-Dub of Omaha. How you doing today, brother?
Good, and even better after yesterday, right? I mean, we get to celebrate. We get to elaborate on so many good things that happen for these young athletes, and I can't wait, man.
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. We'll get to talking about the game here in a moment. But of course, real quick, since you're on with us, DJ, we got to show it. You are now enlisted into the Husker Army. Gave you number 24. I wasn't sure what number to give you, so I just kind of went with the year. I was like, that's kind of a cop-out, but it's still a number. I mean, it's Thomas Fidoni's number. Why not have it, right?
That's right.
Kenny will be back. I know he will. Something's up with his camera. He's always in and out. No big deal there. But as always, if you're watching us on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification icon. You'll know when we have our uploads in case you miss us on social media with the posts. And then, as always, yes, we've got merch, folks. So if you got the chance, you head over to hurrdatsports.com. You click on that pop-down window. You find the Husker Army. You'll see it right there. We got the shirts, dad trucker hats, the beanies, the stainless steel tumblers, the coffee mugs, and the hats and the shirts. Black is not the only color that stuff comes in. Trust me. We've got red ones ourselves. Kenny, I believe he might have the black hat, but a buddy of mine has the feathered gray one, which looks awesome. So, yeah, head on over to hurrdatsports.com. Check out that merch. And, of course, post a picture, send us a picture, whichever one, of you with the merch or wearing the merch, and we make you your own enlisted graphic for the show as well. So we'll get that rolling. And last but not least, of course, we got to let you know about the sponsor. That's right, Underdog Fantasy Sports. If you get the chance, head on over there to Underdog Fantasy Sports, sign up and deposit using code Husker Army, and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and get yourself a free pick. Like I said, head on over to Underdog Fantasy Sports, download their app, use code Husker Army. You get up to $1,000 in bonus cash, and of course, get that free bonus pick. It's totally worth it. Trust me. All right. We got through the crap. That's the stuff that we got to do no matter what. Now we're going to talk about the stuff that truly, truly matters. We're going to hold off on offense for right now. defense will be the first thing we talk about. But if you look at that score, it's beautiful to look at. 15-20. Big Red pulls out the win in the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl over there in Yankee Stadium, of all places, in NYC. Homecoming time for a certain man on that team that we are going to be gloating about very, very soon on this episode. But first bowl game since 2016, first bowl win since 2015. DJ, how does it feel, bro?
You know, the biggest thing is thinking of what these kids had to go through, right? I mean, you got some that are there for 6 years, thanks to COVID, as some might say, and just the mental drive to get up and over that. I mean, of course, you got Kenny on here, and that was never even something we fathomed in the '90s, that we could ever get to that point where we wouldn't be in a bowl game, wouldn't get a win. So it's also good for the new generation to hopefully see the change and grow with the team.
Yeah, I mean, to finally have these guys come in after nobody on that team had experienced a bowl game, nobody on that team had experienced post regular season play. It was one of those things where it was just that much more sweeter. I mean, I don't care who wants to give excuses about officiating. In my opinion, they were crap for both sides when it happened. So it's not like they were biased one way or the other. And the defense, my God, I mean, I understand in conditions you don't like to kick the ball and you got kicking woes, kind of like what we do. But boy, did that defense really step up. I mean, shutting them down and turnovers. They need to count turnover on downs as turnovers. They really do, because all day long they shut them down on fourth down. You look at a guy like Vincent Shavers Jr. I mean, coming out of nowhere, a true freshman getting his chance. And what does he do? He just goes off on the tone of, I don't know, 6 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, a sack, a forced fumble. These are all career highs. And we get to see just the tip of the iceberg for this young man going into next year. So, I mean, Kenny, you hear something like that, having a day like that, and when you go back and watch the game, he really was everywhere. It was him and Willis McGahee IV that just seemed like they were everywhere on that field. So when you hear something about a true freshman like Vincent Shavers Jr. doing something like that in a bowl game, getting his time to shine, that's got to make you feel pretty good, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially with the departures that we've had from the defense, with the players opting out to go into the portal, you have to be able to seize the moment, and that's what both of them did yesterday. So you did hear McGahee's name a lot. Shavers was very disruptive. He was in the backfield a lot. He caused some problems for them, but it's good to see that. But it's
Bro,
part of
that one
maturing.
hit. Ooh,
Hmm.
that one hit
Yeah.
he straight laid. And you know what people don't remember? What jersey number did he wear?
Number one.
Someone that's not on that team no more, who decided
Uh-huh.
to go the other way. And to
Uh-huh.
fill in and be that guy,
Hmm.
you deserve that number one. You earned
It was
that.
like seeing a ghost on the field, man.
Hmm. Yeah. So
And
it
then
was
you
good
got
to see,
Donovan
man.
Jones, the freshman
Hmm.
from Omaha North. Let's say that again. Nebraska, Omaha North coming through.
Yeah.
You see some of those kids coming through like that to me, that hits hard and hopefully shows these younger kids the possibilities. If you believe in what you do and you believe in that process, you never know when you're on the stage until you know.
That's right. Yeah, and especially this day and age when every team's going to have their roster cut down by a ton, and pretty much there goes anybody's walk-on programs. So it just, yeah, to see him, like you said, Kenny, to see both of those guys take their spotlight and turn it as
Hmm.
bright as they possibly could on themselves on a stage where I believe us and the UConn North Carolina game might have been the only two going on at the time.
Hmm.
Man, I don't care what anyone says. Our game, and yeah, there's bias here. Our game was the one to watch. That defense flying around. I mean, getting to see guys like Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmacher do their thing for the final time too. Oh my God. And look, even Gifford had himself a hell of a game, man. On the fake punt. I never would have guessed he's the one getting the ball.
Throw a bone. That's what that is. That's throw a
But
bone right there.
he took a hell of a hit, though.
Yes, he
He
did.
took a hell of a hit on that. But he caught it. I was just happy he caught it.
Yeah, and he didn't run out of bounds. He was very close to touching that sideline when he made his cut up upfield. So I was like,
His little toe step, and then got upfield. That was good to see. Happy for him.
Well, now us as Husker fans, I mean, no matter how good things are going, we always find small things to bitch about, small things to complain about. Here's mine. The fake field goal. I look, you take those 3 points, and this is a 23-15 game after that blocked punt. And you're not quite sweating bullets so much. You know you're still okay. They would need a touchdown and 2-point conversion just to tie at that point instead of needing just a touchdown to win by 1. No. Don't ever please do that again. I was okay with the fake punt, but don't ever do that again at about the 5-yard line. Bushini was
you might
that ball.
You might as well run a play.
Thank you.
You use your skill players. Yeah, you use your skill players on something like that. You might as well say, you know what, we're going to go for it, and if we get it, we get it. If we don't, we don't. But don't give it to that person to run that play. That's not what they do.
I do like on the social media side, though, that one of the old punters or snap holders, did call him out. It was, I forget his last name, but he actually scored on his opportunity that he had. Is it Breckner or something with a B? I forget his last name, but he called him out, and he's like, this is how it's supposed to be run, and he scored a touchdown, of course. But for me, even watching the post-game interview, just about is there a reason no one asked why we let them get back in the game, or what changed, why we kind of left it there for the open? I feel sometimes those questions don't get answered. As a fan, as someone that follows football, I think, and it's weird, is it like unforbidden question? Why did we let them get back into it when, I mean, they had 2 points at half?
Yeah, that's a damn good question, because honestly, even with me being the type of fan I am, I don't want to shake the tree, ruffle many feathers, but if I'm in that press conference being able to ask the question without being disrespectful, you can very easily ask that question. Like, Coach Rule, what do you guys plan to do to fix the special team woes? Word it just like that. You're not being disrespectful. You're not saying, hey, Coach Rule, when the hell are you going to just fire Foley and move on? I mean, there's ways to do it. So I absolutely agree with you there. Absolutely agree. Why can't you just ask the question of the elephant in the room?
Man,
I think it's part of them trying to be polite and letting people enjoy the win. You know what I mean? Enjoy the victory, and just not wanting to rain on their parade with the emotions, and giving them something to answer right then and there in regards to that. But I don't see anything wrong with it. Personally, I would say, hey, what happened that you saw that made the team be able to come back and put us in those situations? I think it's a way that you can ask the question to where the person doesn't get offended. So, I mean, it just depends. I think it also depends on the reporter.
I mean, if I'm a Rule, honestly, I'm asking Foley right after that blocked punt, what the hell were you doing? Did you not realize they're going to come after this with everything they got, knowing they need the ball? The guy that blocked it was untouched, right up the middle.
Yeah, it wasn't a speedy outside guy. It was direct up the middle, and I think that's probably the feeling from a fan's point of view, where you're like, that's the worst scenario, right? If someone's fast enough on that outside guy, I mean, and Kenny can even speak on this. When you got the fastest guy on the outside, those are the things that you're rooting for, right? But when you have someone come directly up the middle, you're like, all right, I don't know where your numbers and counting goes if you know anything about special teams, but it's accounting. You're counting the number and you're going from the inside out to get your guy and who you got. And when you see that happen come directly up the middle, it's just it's kind of like an embarrassing feeling because you're like, that was like number two, right? Off the center.
Right.
You went inside out and you went two to the left or two to the right. And he's there. It's not like he surprised you where he was.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because we can, and I'm just being honest, we can always point the finger back at coaching.
Oh, yeah.
But we have to also look at you have a job to do as a player, and sometimes, and well, not sometimes, at all times, you must be accountable for what you do and what you're doing. And for him, that player to just run in there unimpeded and just pretty much, he almost like he was on some of those little kid skates with the lights, just slid in there and blocked that. So I mean, it was like, oh, I know we all had the collective thought of, oh,
You
here
got
it
to be
goes,
shitting me.
here it goes, here we go again. So I don't know, man. It's they need to work on that. There needs to be a focus. I mean, an extreme focus, and you need to crack down on those kids because you have to take accountability at some point. You have to make that block. You have to do those are things that's basic stuff. So and some of those guys are only in there for special teams.
Yeah, and speaking of certain things, I mean, we even got to see a Riley Van Poppel sighting a few times during this game. A lot of people are talking. A lot of people are talking. This is our next Ty Robinson. He's already about that caliber as a sophomore. So I mean, holy hell! To have Van Poppel do the same thing, if we can have somebody replacing Ty Robinson right away with the same mentality, the same skill set, and all you end up losing is somebody like Nash Hutmacher, I'm okay with that because I know of a couple recruits we got coming in that will absolutely be able to fill in right next to Van Poppel.
Well, and I mean, Kenny, you could speak. So in the '90s, we're happy because more players got to play because you're up by so much, right? This year, they just got to play for opportunities is when you got to see the most, right? Or and of course, we did have the earlier game where I think they went through, I think 105 players or something got a
The
snap.
UTEP game.
Yeah, but it's not what it was as far as you're getting the reps. I mean, even you saw Dylan all the way to the last play. I mean,
Yep.
that stuff didn't happen before where you're having to keep the ones in there all the way until the end. So getting to see some of those younger guys get the experience. I don't know what the final number was for yesterday, but I could tell you we're pretty high on there because of course they had a lot of those players that had to fill in for the ones that departed. And it was just good to know that this is what's coming in the pipe, right? This is what's coming on that other side and can just grow from it, from that experience. And I think we said it when you were on my podcast of just how important those 15 days of practice were, like, because I have so many people going, well, but they don't get to do nothing after that game, right? They don't get to no, that 15 days is something that is priceless. You can't put a tag on it when it
Mhm.
comes to reps. Look at I said it on someone that posted about Cam Jurgens and the block that he did at the pro level for the Eagles, and everybody's like, well, you talk stuff about him at college. He didn't have those 20,000 reps as a center. He didn't come to us as a center.
Mhm.
So that's why he isn't a pro. But now you look at him in the pros and he's dominating. Why? He's had that 20,000 reps, and those every rep counts, man. Like, and seeing these kids just get that opportunity of the practice, Kenny, you know how that goes. Those extra days matter to the growth of a team between 7 and 6, and next year
Mhm.
trying to get to 9-5 or 9-4, right? Or
Yeah,
10, trying to get to that 10.
absolutely. And for me personally, like you said, with the kids coming in and getting a chance to play, when we were there and before us, because I like I said, Brian knows I always don't only put things back on the '90s. We got to go back to Coach DeBaney,
70s.
yeah,
Yeah.
'60s,
Yeah.
'70s.
60s. Yeah.
It was when you went into play, there was an expectation that there wouldn't be a drop off in performance. So that's why you had guys constantly being able to go in and out. And I'll use this team, for example. Remember, Florida State was great in the 90s, was really good like us. You can pull out Andres Wadsworth and throw in the Corey, the rest of the guys, Corey Simon and these guys. You see what I mean? It's no drop off. So with the way we are now, we're a lot thinner in those positions. Because if you think about it, we were 4 and 5 deep at those positions back in the days. So it's a big difference. But to see them get in and play, and I think if you're practicing, because we don't have anyone on the team, and we haven't had anyone that has been a don't pull them out player.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying? That much of a difference maker where you just did not pull them out. So maybe it was something with the coaches. They didn't feel the confidence the other player can come in and maintain that level of play. Hopefully we can get back to that, to where we say, hey, we pull them out for a series or two, let them get a little rest, and then this player can come in and we don't skip a beat. So hopefully we can get back to that, because that's what we all want. We all want to see this. We all want to see this program get back to respectability.
Here's a good surprise for you too, because I'm about to add this man into the podcast. I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to pop in or not.
Let's go,
dude.
Go.
DJ, you hooked this up, brother. I've been waiting to get this guy on the podcast, and I've been hoping to get him on with us for a standalone episode if possible. But talk about a guy that you didn't want to pull out of a game.
This is my guy right here, man.
Husker
Mr.
Army,
MVP.
Husker fans.
2-time champion MVP. What's
Husker.
up, my guy?
Quarterback, Tommy Armstrong Jr. How are you doing, Tommy?
Let's go.
Tanner.
Man, Tommy, how are you?
Man, I seen your email. I meant to get back to you. My kids.
It's okay. Dude, I know you guys are busy. I don't ever need apologies from any former player, current player. Just like I tell Rahmir and Emmett, don't ever apologize for not getting right back to me. Y'all are busy. I get it. Just whenever you get the chance. I don't care if it's 6 months down the road. Whenever you get the chance, I'll accept whenever you respond. So.
Well, hey, Brian, I have to give you props, because I said it on my podcast with Abdul Muhammad. Kenny Cheatham, being on a podcast with him is just as important as me getting Tommy to pull in for you as well, because Kenny Cheatham's a part of that crew that really brought me into Husker loving football. Between him, Abdul, and Baron Miles, those are the dogs. Those are the ones who made the wide receiver role what it was and what it can be, to not only block but also get a little bit of that love down the field.
Thank you. Appreciate that, brother.
Yes, sir.
Tommy, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. Can't complain,
yeah, man. I want to say something to you, brother.
Yeah, go ahead, Kenny. Go ahead.
Just,
you guys
just so you know.
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, we loved you, man. All us old dudes love you when you were there, brother. And you put it down, and we appreciate you. And we love the way you got down. And the way you came back and went nuts down there against Miami, that's legendary, brother. That's legendary. So just know, man. So tell all your boys, like we tell them, I don't know who started the rumor that us older guys never love you guys. No, brother. That's false. That's a fake narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So when we hear that, y'all just don't know how pissed we get that people put that out there, that we cared about every one of you guys that's put on that uniform. We always will. We'll always be brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And it is what it is. We rock with y'all just like we rocking with the kids now, man. So don't believe that stuff, because I know they've said that stuff about you guys. And who was that? Callahan's guy. And we're like, who's telling this lie? You know what I'm saying? So now, brother, but we appreciate you, Chuck. We Thick as Steve's, man. You saw us in the September against Colorado, how we were all together, Thick as Steve's.
Yeah,
we're there.
I'm glad you said that. The biggest thing for me is, like you said, I don't really believe that, just because, like, one of my good friends is Ricky Simmons. He played a long time ago. He's an OG. He's one of the guys that's kind of a father figure to me. I talk to him all the time. He's like a grandpa to my kids. So I view all you guys like big brothers. That one biggest thing that I've learned from him is, he told me, he became the big bro to anybody that's played after. And he says, like, no matter who you are, you could be a guy that's there now, You could be a guy that graduated 2 years after him. He's still going to look at you as like the little bro. He's always going to have your back. He's always going to do that. So when I met him back in 2014, 2015, and I had a conversation with him. I've talked to him every day now. Like, he's one of my favorite.
Let's go.
You saying that, it kind of just reiterates what he's been telling me for the last 10 years. And a lot of people, like you said, may hear those stories and all that. I don't pay no mind because I know how, because I've got a relationship, a real good relationship with guys that's graduated and they've played before me and they've actually been successful. And they treat us like family. And that's how, for the outsiders, they don't really look at it as being, I see it firsthand just because I've had a great time of getting to know everybody that's played before me and after me. So
that clickbait, man, that clickbait.
It's crazy, right? It's crazy, right? Yeah. It's silly, man.
Tommy's one of those guys, man, that I've been watching Husker football literally my entire life. And he's the first and only guy that I can recall that being down for, I think it might have just been a pulled hamstring or you're cramping up. I think it was the Oregon game. To hear the crowd collectively chanting Tommy. I have never, ever heard Memorial Stadium chant for a single player. To hear 90,000 strong get behind one single player. And I've been saying this since you started as a freshman, Tommy. You are one of the toughest SOBs to ever strap on the helmet and wear an N on the side of that helmet.
Absolutely.
Because my God, man, you did not stay down for anybody. It didn't matter what type of hit it was. You did not stay down. So, Tommy, literally from every Husker fan's bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for everything you gave to this state and team.
That's right, brother. We appreciate you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, this is bucket list stuff for me right here, man. I'm telling you. Oh, my God, having Tommy Armstrong on here. My Lord, I didn't think I'd see this day. Anyway, Tommy, we were just talking about the defense, talking about the win, 20-15 over Boston College. I mean, look, we made it to the bowl game as down as we've been the past 8 years. First bowl game since 16, first bowl game win since you guys beat UCLA in the Foster Farms Bowl in 15. So that defense, you had to practice against Pelini defenses on a daily basis. Watching that defense against Boston College, I hate to put you on the spot. Which one would you have not wanted to go against? The one you saw against BC or some of the ones you'd see on a daily basis?
To be honest, I would have rather played against, no offense to those guys, but I would have rather played against those guys that played a couple of days ago, yesterday. Having to go against Randy Gregory and those guys, it was kind of a different feel. But it reminds me just how they fly around. I think the biggest thing is you may not have the most talented guys out there on defense, but if you can get 11 guys to rally to the ball, no matter what the situation is, they know where to be at all times. I learned that the older I got is you may not have the most talented people, but if you have the smart guys, the guys that know how to, just basically get into space and be able to close their gaps as fast as possible, those are when defenses become really good, and then you have depth behind it. Like you had guys that left, but if you was a stranger that never seen anything about Nebraska and watched that game, you would think that they had all their guys return and go to that bowl game and play, because ultimately they didn't skip a beat when they lost at DC, and they ended up losing probably 4 or 5 guys that were starters on defense, and yet they still were able to hold them to 2 points until the fourth quarter, which is, I would say they got them to 0 points because we gave them the 2 points. But the thing about it was, if you have a defensive-minded team like that, it's tough to do anything with them. It's times where like I said before, you can send blitzes, you can do whatever you want, but if you can get into the offensive head where D lines getting pushed, linebackers are blitzing here and there, DBs or get into the receiver's head, it's tough. That's one of the things that I struggled with definitely when we was going against Coach Bo's defense was, we ran kind of the similar defense where it was kind of the NFL, I would say the NFL scheme where it was a lot of gap sound linebackers where they had responsibilities, and you could tell like when they gave up those responsibilities, we got torched for like 300, 400 rushing yards.
Yeah.
And it was just because a lot of people say, "Oh, our defense gave up." Nah, it's a lot that goes into that NFL scheme. They do a lot of twisting, stunting, but when they try to stop the run, you got to be able to make sure everybody in that front seven is on the same par. And when they are, they're dangerous. And that's why a lot of times, I think it was for the first 4 weeks, we didn't allow a rushing touchdown until we played. And you saw when we played Indiana, we tried to, do our gap scheme things defensively, and they didn't respond the right way. And all of a sudden they had 5 rushing touchdowns and 500 yards offense, and we got beat like a drum. Like that's what happens when you have an type of caliber DC, but you got guys that don't really understand the meaning behind having a high tempo, fly around type defense. And at the end of the day, they responded the right way. They came out the next week and did what they were supposed to do, but you could tell when the defense wasn't there, our entire team wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
But our team now is leaning more on the defensive side. The defense is the alpha of our team right now.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not responding, the offense won't respond. The offense can play well, but if the defense is not playing well, we're just going to have to outscore people. But defensively, this team for the last couple of years have been top notch, and it's been keeping us in a lot of games.
Well, and I like that you brought that up because, like, being a former coach myself, when I coached high school, I coached defensive side. So, and when we go through the losing phases that we went through, like, I'm more looking at what the players on the defense are doing, and I think that's a part of the game that sometimes fans miss out on and don't see. So when you're seeing like your safety having to yell at a corner or a linebacker to be in the right position or in the right place, and they're not responding, that's not a coaching aspect for the most part. When you're later in the season, that's more of concentrating, knowing your job, and then also responding to a leader that's trying to lead you in the right way. And I saw that a lot when Cam Taylor Britt was playing safety. Like, I watched him having to communicate and move people, and it's like, we are too far in the season for you to have to move someone to be in the right position. And when that happens, that's when you see the torching happening. And as a fan, you're more like, I can't believe our defense ain't doing what they're doing. And it's like, someone's out of position and out of place more than it is the defense ain't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then that's where it goes back to what Kenny said, player accountability. And I think sometimes that's where fans get lost in the sauce, and they're like, it's this coach's fault or this thing. And I'm not saying sometimes the plays aren't the right call, because that's the chessboard we're always playing with. But a lot of times it could just be one guy not knowing his assignment that could totally ruin the rest of the 10.
Yep. Like they always say, you are as strong as your weakest link. You can have the strongest chain in the world, but if you have one link on that bad boy that's weak, and you pull it, it's still gonna break, no matter how many links that you have on there. That's strong as can be. But I don't want to just talk about the defense. Offensively, I think they're doing pretty well. I think the biggest thing for our offense, we just have to get consistent. Because when we are a consistent offense, we have the 3 to 6 minute drives. That's what actually gives our defense that rest that they need. A lot of times when we've been in dog fights, it's been times where our defense goes out there and they've stopped the team from going down their 4 minute drive, 8 plays. They block a field goal. We go out there and go 3 and out, have to punt, and then I got to go right back out there. Like, those are the things like I would like to see for our offense to just get more consistent on. And I know it comes with time. and we need a little bit more depth, definitely O-line wise. You know, we started a left tackle, Gunner from Southeast. You know, he had to step up because of injuries, but that plays a lot and part of things. But just being able to just have depth. And I heard Casey talking about. I think you said when I first joined, you said that, you know, there was a lot of, when you were playing, there was a lot of times where, you know, you had 4 or 5 deep where they were ready to the ball regardless. And that's the mindset that I think everybody got to have. And I think the coaches have it. The players got to have it, because and me personally, I think this transfer portal thing is kind of, it's tough, because you don't know. You may have all the depth in the world at the most important positions, but then turn around 3 months later and a kid doesn't feel that he got the right share because he didn't work hard enough, and he decides to leave, and you got a senior in front of him and a junior, and now you have to go out and recruit 2 other guys to fill in positions. And it's just like you hit the reset button, even though you don't want to hit the reset button. And I think a lot of teams are going to have to deal with that, definitely with this jumping down to 105. I think that's going to be the biggest issue, is now you have to have depth, but you also have to cater to these kids that you don't want to just up and hightail it when things get tough. And you're not going to have to, you're not going to have that 140, 145, I think it is, that you have those guys that can step in as insurance just in case. Some teams that you saw now made a bowl game, guys left, didn't have enough, so they went and found some teams that wasn't bowl eligible. And I think that's going to be the biggest problem for depth purposes, as for not only Nebraska, but just in college football in general, just because now I think having 105 and having this transfer portal where guys can just up and leave, it's gonna put a lot of stress on these coaches and the recruiting process for them.
And in spirit of having, you know, obviously Kenny on here as an offensive guy, Tommy on here, offensive guy, we might as well talk about the offense. The last thing about the defense, so I mean, they only allowed 47 rushing yards against BC. And that's the 7th time this season in Nebraska has held an opponent to less than 80 rushing yards. So that to me, great defensive stat. And to touch on what you're talking about right there, Tommy, as far as the transfer portal goes too, they've got to fix the dates that this thing opens up and closes, because like you said, Marshall's one of those teams. They lost so many players to the transfer portal. They couldn't field a team in their bowl game, so they had to drop out. And like you said, ineligible bowl teams like Louisiana Tech, being, I think they were 5-7, ended up playing in that game against Army. So it's just, they've got to fix just the dates. The transfer portal, I understand. 2 things I think they need to change: the dates they open and close it, and the other thing is how many damn times you can transfer. When you start seeing guys that are on their 4th, 5th, 6th school before their 4 years of eligibility is up, my God, there's got to be something put in place to where max 3 in 4 years.
Yeah, that's something.
Or you lose another year of eligibility, the way the old school used to be.
Yeah, that's something. I just think I agree with you, Brian, because you know I'm for the transfer portal, but I think it needs to be some modifications to it. One specifically, like you said, is the date. I don't like the ability of the kids to be able to do it right in the middle of the season or right after bowl games, right before. Now, I do understand the opting out of bowl games. Okay, I'm not with it. I don't agree with it. Case in point, the Cam Rising situation down there with Miami, that was crazy to me, taking itself out the second half. I understand you want to be about your paper. I agree with you being about your paper. But when your brothers are out there still fighting at some point, yeah, you got to be like, nah, we going to ride this out. You know what I mean? But it's tricky, man. It's going to make it harder and more stressful for the coaches. I think they're going to, as we saw a couple years ago, start looking for more guys that's been playing for a few years to bring into their program. Because if you get younger guys now who aren't ready, they might be gone in that year, feeling they're not, you wasted this scholarship on this person of bringing this kid in and they're ready to leave within a year, where you can have someone who's there, it's almost like you're recruiting from major colleges as if you're pulling seasoned players out of JUCO.
Yeah.
That's coming in instantly ready to play. You get what I'm saying? And you're looking at the
and that's the
freshmen.
only reason you're bringing them in.
Yeah, it's almost like you're looking at the freshmen like they might not be ready, but we can't redshirt them. They might leave. But you would think with them being able to play as a redshirt freshman, what is it, 4 or 5 games?
Yep.
I don't know, man. It's just hard. I'm for it. I'm for NIL, all of that, but it needs to be some modifications because I didn't know 18 opted out of the game.
Yep.
And I'm looking at some of these guys like, dude, you're not a first, second, third round pick. I mean, what are you seeing that I'm not seeing that makes you feel comfortable that you can opt out instead of playing in this game, getting more eyes on you to perform, to give you a better chance to get to your ultimate goal, which is the next level or any form of pro football? Because let's be honest, it's any form of pro football. I think we need to cut that narrative that people think, oh, he went to Canada, he's a arena. No, it's not. No, it's any form of pro football.
Any football beyond college.
Yeah, to play the game that you love. I have a buddy that's played 19 years. He did a couple in Canada, then he went overseas. And he was in Germany, switched from playing football. He did about 19 years.
Damn.
He got to play the game he loved. Now he's a coach, assistant coach at Mater Dei in California. But you get what I'm saying? It's the game he loved to play. So we just need to clean it up, man. And offensively, I think there's a lot of things we can work on to get better. For me personally, and I'm going to ask Tommy this question. What do you see from Dylan? For me, I think he personally needs to work on his some decision making, of course, but as far as me, his body type, because you can tell he's still young physically, but the way he's shaped, you know what I mean? Do you think there's some things he needs to work on as far as that, make him a little bit more mobile, a little bit more agile, you know?
Yeah, I think just by because I work with quarterbacks around the area, Omaha, Lincoln, Kearney, all over the place. My biggest thing for them is just knowing where to go with the ball. Because my biggest thing that I've learned is when I grew up going to Nebraska, I made a lot of mistakes just because I trusted my arm rather than my brain. And it's actually helped me throughout my older time now of understanding football, understanding how to get rid of the ball quicker, read defenses, know when to throw the ball away. And I think watching him is just more of, he has it's like every throw is just one type of throw. His fade balls, he only throws back shoulder. Always where if the receiver is beat bad or the DB's beat bad, the receiver always has to come back and catch the ball. I don't think he has he's a finesse thrower. And sometimes you don't need to be the finesse thrower. You need to be that guy that can just let it rip at times. And from what I've seen, I want to say it was the very, very first turnover we had.
Your interception.
He threw the pick, and I honestly don't think that at times he's seeing the field clear enough. I know, Coach Dana is there now, and I know he has him doing certain things, but I think that from my perspective, it looked like, and on that play, at times he reversed back to that old ways where he's like, I'm gonna give my guy a chance anyway. It gets him in trouble. Throwing that pick, that one-on-one go ball backside, even though he started left and then he tried to go back to the right. Ideal for a quarterback, that's not a good thing. You can't in college, you can't scan the whole field. It's either you're gonna scan left to middle or you're gonna scan right to middle. It's never gonna be left, middle to right. It never works that way because you're gonna be too late. And at times he does that, and I know it comes with age. The older you get, the more you start seeing it. And like you said, body type wise, he just has to. He has some things that he has to get on the nutritionist plan. Start to get some cardio in. Be able to run a little bit. Take care of yourself, because now he sees that the game is a lot faster than in high school, and he can't take those hits. He's not going to be able to just lower his shoulder like he tried to. and luckily he came out of that without getting injured. And he got to learn how to slide early.
Yep.
Because
that's something you didn't do a whole lot of that here in your time, though, Tommy. You weren't a slider. You were a diver, dude.
Yeah, but I think me and him got a different mindset when we touched the ball.
Different body style too. I mean,
exactly. Yeah,
different talent leg wise. Let's face the fact here as well.
Yeah, but that's why I was asking, because I see some things with him physically that I see that can be improved drastically. And like you said, he believes in his arm strength, like you said you did, and that's where those mistakes come in, especially at the quarterback position. I believe I can get there instead of saying, you know what, that's not the good choice. Let me make this decision. So I think, like you said, if he changed the body type, a little leaner, thinner, he can take more of those hits, because for me personally, when I see him get hit, I always think he's hurt.
Yeah.
Especially when you go back to that Illinois game when he took that hit, and how he was laying there. I'm like, is this dude out for the count, laying on the ground, all looking all disheveled and shit? I mean, I was like, wow. So, I mean, it's scary when he gets hit, because it's like, is he hurt? What's going on? So, and that sliding, that's one thing, because another person's going to call his bluff, and they're going to lay into him, and it's not going to be pretty. So that sliding earlier, that needs definitely needs.
Just not too early where you're short of the yard line, right?
Yes, please.
Hey,
that's why you don't slide. That's why I like when Tommy would dive. You're down where you're down, not where you initiate your dive.
But Tommy was physical though, and body type, muscular, body type,
man.
Dylan's he's not that. He's little loose body. So I don't think he got that pumper to go in there, not beat pumper, but that pumper to go in there head first.
And Kenny, what do you feel on the receivers? What do you feel is some consistency things they did good, and what do you think is some times where you felt like they couldn't get open, or they couldn't, and it's obviously hard to watch it unless you slow it down, because the camera's not always facing the right direction to give you some of the views and ideas.
For me, offensively, this is what I've said, and I've said it before when we've done the show. I thought we personally went too much lateral and not enough vertically. I don't think we used Jalen and little man 17 enough in the slots vertically to put pressure on teams. It always seems like the big play was Jalen when he was down the field, Neymar when he made a couple, but our down the field presence wasn't really there.
No.
It was more laterally. And I said, you can't score touchdowns consistently going laterally. You can, but I would rather you go vertical. We need to use our threats down the field. And maybe we need a mid-sized burner on the outside that can put a fear in somebody. But we have inside players that can make it. We have tight ends who are big enough to cause a problem. But when we're doing 15, 20-yard dinks and dunks, to me, that's a dink and dunk offense. A defense isn't scared when you can't go down the field on them. They're going to play you a certain way. We were just fortunate enough to beat those teams. I mean, you look at, I remember one time he tossed the ball. I'm like, damn, these dudes chunking that ball. The time you got to understand, it was a different day when I was there. I watched you guys throw the ball. I wasn't nothing but pissed with everybody. I'm like, they think this guy's saucy. Couldn't hold a candle to us. But anyway, but at least it was opposite for us, because people knew we were going to run that ball. But we had skilled receivers who could get down the field and cause a problem. It just wasn't seen because of our style of offense. But I just think we need to use the vertical passing game. This is for me personally more, and use our inside slots receiver. Everything seems to be outside, coming in, hand around sweeps. No, attack. When you have a quarterback that can pitch it and throw it, you need to attack. You run the ball, but you need to be an attacking offense. That's just my opinion. And that's from a receiver. Get that ball to them boys. Let them do work. That's all I'm going to say.
Tommy knew that against Georgia in the bowl game. I mean, that's why he had the 99-yard touchdown pass.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I'm not kidding. If we could have Raiola have Tommy's arm like that rocket, oh, my God.
Gun strength.
Oh, good Lord. It'd be ridiculous.
Cocked and loaded.
Yeah. I was standing on my couch on that 99-yard touchdown. Oh, goddamn. I was going crazy. Oh, shit. Standing on my couch.
Yeah, there's not a single Husker fan that doesn't remember that and they'll never forget it. So, I mean, That was one of the greatest things I can remember out of that one. I mean, we got to talk about obviously the man of the day, the man of the hour, the man of the game. I mean, Rahmir Johnson. Enough said. Getting his homecoming in New Jersey, playing in front of his family. Said he grew up like 15 minutes, 10 minutes away from Yankee Stadium. I mean, this was everything for him, dude. It was the way he came in, the way he ran the ball, the way he ended up icing the game. It was. I have been on Rahmir's bandwagon from day one that he stepped on this campus and we got to see what he could do. To see him go through all the coaching changes, all the injuries, just literally, in essence, all the bullshit that a college athlete could damn near go through. He went through it, stuck with his commitment here, basically had to reapply for his job every year with a new coach. For him to finally get this on his way out, you've got to admit, Tommy, you almost couldn't write a better story in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's an emotional thing for him. Being a senior, being able to play 15 minutes away from his house, and I'm pretty sure you guys know now, but he lost his mom in November, and that's like one of the biggest things that, as an athlete, you never want to go through. Definitely playing sports, having to pick between your mom, well, your first family and your second family. Like, it's just tough to stay focused, and you can see when everybody was talking about it, that they just didn't know what to say, and he didn't want to be a distraction. That's how humble the kid is. That's how big, I guess, he is for his team. Is that he didn't want to be a distraction. He didn't want to be that guy that everybody talked about and said, "Oh, well, why is he not here?" Why he showed up, he worked, he did his job, and then he made sure, he reached out to his parents or his family and to see how things were going. But you wouldn't wish that on anybody. But he comes out the next month and he does what he's supposed to do. He goes out, he plays ball, he puts everything aside, and you could tell he had a purpose behind every carry he had, and that's why that team rallied around him so much, is because they just knew, like, this is like the icing on the cake for him. He gets out there, points to the sky. As soon as he scores his first touchdown, you already knew what it was. Like, just give him the ball. He gonna let everything else. They had, like, it's just like Coach Rule said. They had to pull him out the stands because he was up there. I couldn't even imagine playing 15 minutes from my house. I've never done that. Definitely in college. Like, you have to pull me out the stands. So I'm gonna have 100 people up there. It's just gonna be that simple. And definitely when it comes down to him winning the game, yeah, I'll see y'all in a little bit. Y'all go in there and celebrate. I'm gonna be right here with my fam.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how it was for him.
Exactly. Yeah, and I reached out to Rahmir and Emmett immediately after the game, just through text messaging. Once I found out that Rahmir had gone through that with his mom in November, I had to reach out. I went through the same thing with mine. I lost my mother unexpectedly without warning when she was 56 years old. So, I mean, granted, I ain't going to lie. It'll be now 10 years ago, but I still can remember it vividly. And I can remember that feeling, that the terror you feel by just getting that text or phone call. I know what he's going through, and I just wanted to let him know, thinking about him, prayers are with him. And if he needs anyone to talk to whatsoever, right there for him. I mean, I know he's got a hell of a support system anyway, but if for some reason they're all busy, he's more than welcome to get a hold of me anytime. I know
Well, and
exactly how it feels.
I even told Tommy on my episode with Tommy. I mean, Tommy got me in my feels, because as a guy, like, losing your mom, you experience it, because I just lost my mom in New Year's Day 2022, so we're coming up on 2 years. Like, you really never mourn the situation, you really never go through it, or like, especially when you're so busy with life nowadays and there's so many things going on. And I could imagine having to stick to the books. The conversation was only with Emmett and Coach Rule, right? I mean, the book was very sealed, right? It was so short and so small that, you know, when that day comes that he gets to finally mourn the situation, you know, I think he's built that around him that will get him through that tough time, because I think he's still one of those guys, because he gave it all to everything his mom invested in him. And like, Tommy says, I mean, every game that, his mom gets to watch, I got to sit next to one of his aunts, man. And just like hearing this family, like how important it was for them to be there for these moments, for these athletes that are so busy with everything going on, is just stuff that I took for granted. And I didn't play sports, right? I let myself be so caught up in my own life that I didn't reach out every Sunday, like Tommy said on my episode. Like, those are things that we take for granted, but these kids are so busy with that sport, and they still perform for the crowd. They still put on the that they represent every day. So like that, dude, when Coach Rule said that, dude, I whew, about lost it. It was one of those moments for sure.
Yeah, Kenny, you and I, we've been high on Rahmir ever since day one, especially you yourself called him Nebraska's Swiss Army knife, because he's just, you put him in there and he can do whatever you need him to do. He can do it all. So, I mean, hearing what you heard about everything he has gone through, and then just in this last month and a half, what he's had to go through, and still being able to stay focused and put it all together and be with the team. What more can we say about the guy, Kenny?
To me, it just speaks of the character of the man. I mean, because Rahmir could have actually given up years ago with all of the setbacks he's had. Injury wise, who else knows what was going on mentally for him during those setbacks? Because people think I've seen players get one major injury and then they're just mentally done.
Yep.
So for him to continuously get those injuries and bounce back, and his willingness to stay, to say, you know what, I made a commitment here. I'm willing to see this through for us to get to a bowl game and to plan it. Then to lose your mom. I mean, I and for all you guys who lost him, I can't understand it. You know, I lost my dad in 19 unexpectedly from a heart attack. So you know, you remember when that happened, Brian. That's just you and with all of that going on, and I always tell people when stuff like that happens, and it's to you too, K-Dub, you don't let someone dictate when you mourn. Because and in time if you lost someone, because I missed it because my computer decided to do what it did. It's you mourn at your own pace. And it's gonna go in highs and lows. It's gonna be moments when you're sitting there and then you think, you know what I mean? It's gonna be reminders, little stuff, cards, going places. That sets it
Holidays.
off. But to deal with that, deal with school, keep it under wraps, and still be committed, you can't do anything but commend him for it, because that probably would have broke me. I would have been like, yo, I mean, I'm a grown man and 43 when my dad passed, and that broke me to where I'm like, I can't imagine being that age and dealing with that. Like I said, I was 43 when my dad passed. I was confused. I was literally like, I don't know what to do. I was like lost when that happened. Like, I'm looking at my brother, I'm like, I don't know. So for him to do that and then come out and play at home and do what he did and perform how he did with all his people there, I think that gave him some energy. I think gave some motivation. I think for him to not be emotionally overwhelmed with that, because he could have been so emotionally overwhelmed, he couldn't have not performed. But for him to go out there and do his thing, you can't do anything but salute and respect him 100 even more. I mean, because that's he's home. Think about how many reminders he's getting being home about his mother. This store, this place, this what we want. Things he saw daily.
Mm-hmm.
And she's no longer there. And then I'm playing, and she's not here to see me play at home. Well, they probably could have walked to the stadium. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot, bro. Salute. I mean, because that's
It takes a special person, and that's exactly what Rahmir is. He is a special type of person. Period. Like you said, Ken, he couldn't imagine even trying to function after losing a parent. I was the same way. I lost my mom. I was lost.
With holidays coming up, then he's doing it with the holidays.
Yes, it's just the worst time of year for it to happen. Even it couldn't have been the worst timing. And then, just to have his head on his body the way it is, it's just. I hope he goes to the next level, and whoever the hell gets him, no matter what league, team, I don't care, they're getting a straight up leader. They're getting somebody that can put a team on his back, that can follow in his footsteps. He can set an example for any team at any level right now.
I think the thing I realized, after Coach Rule talk about how Nebraska helped hospice mom and things like that. I don't really think it was a mourning day for him. I think it was more of I think he celebrated his mom's life that day. He had people the two major groups, his family and his second family in Nebraska, that helped his mom through all the stuff that she was going through. All 15 minutes from his hometown, all in the same arena, all in the same area. And he got a chance to show out in front of both of them. I think he celebrated his mom's life, and this was the thing that he needed to kind of, I wouldn't say patch up a hole that he could ever patch up, but at least be able to, put a hand over and let everybody know he was okay. Just by his coach's reaction, his family reaction, in the stands. I think it was a celebration for his mom, even though physically she wasn't there. Spiritually, I think she was there. She was watching, and she was smiling down on him, because every time he got a chance, he looked up, pointed at the sky, because he knew, this was what she wanted to see him do, and he got to do it at his hometown. You can't draw it up any better than this situation. For me, my mom, my senior year, I got ready to, we had spring ball, fall camp, and all that. My mom ended up passing out, having to have open heart surgery. I get a call in the middle of the day. I get on the first flight home. I tell my head coach, Coach Raleigh at the time, I got to go home. They're all confused. I say, hey, look, I got to go home. My mom's in the hospital. I have to go home now. I get back. Everybody confused. Like, man, where you been? Where you been? Where you been? All they were told was this is a family emergency. But nobody was basically, at the end of the day, I made the decision to make, I made those choices. But like you said, certain people react to certain things differently. But I went home. That was my choice. Because I talk to my mom every Sunday. Some people don't get a chance and they're not used to it. I have to talk to my mom every Sunday for the last 15, 20 years since I was, since I was 13 years old, 12 years old, when I left my mom and went and I stayed in Texas to play high school football. I told my mom I call her every Sunday. I call my mom every Sunday now, and guess who's on the phone with me? My daughter and my son, because I'm going to teach them the right ways of appreciating their parents.
That's right.
And that's the biggest thing that I look at as far as with him. He appreciated his mom. He appreciated the things that she did, regardless of the distance. You can tell a relationship between a kid and their parent by just their actions in their everyday life. because those are the life lessons that his mom taught him, and it showed. And for me, it was like I retired this past year or last year because I got a picture perfect scenario. I got my kids to watch me play. I got my mom to come to my game. I won the MVP. I won the national championship again. Everything was great. There wasn't no point in playing again. I did what I was supposed to do. I got a chance to have my whole family come to a game. That's never happened. In the time I've been playing football, my mom has seen me play in high school one time physically. In college, she's seen me play twice. And then in pro, she's seen me play once. So out of all the time I've been playing, my mom only seen me physically play 4 games.
Oh
But
my
everybody
God.
feels like that always happens. Like they feel every parent lives that scenario where they get to do what they want to do, how they want to do it, and go to everything they don't. And I mean, I really commend, like I told you when we talked, man, like you give a perspective of stuff that we take for granted, and and when everything was right, you know, I think you saying the way that you stepped out is just like even Rahmir. I mean, having this as his last game, last performance, everybody was there. He probably never really got that feeling of family besides his Husker family. And then the icing on the cake is to have the performance. And I mean, thinking of that last run, because I even thought he might not have scored that touchdown because of the fact that he got down there and they switched him out. Well, then we went to a timeout when he lost his shoe.
Mm-hmm.
So he almost didn't even get that moment, but something went off that said, we got to get to this timeout. So the timeout happens, and then we come out of timeout because Emmett was in there at the time. We come out of timeout, and you see Rahmir back there, and you're like, perfect. The moment is set. It wasn't what you. I mean, of course, we didn't know what we got told at the end of the game, right, with Coach Rule. But you're just like, everything is falling in line for this kid. Everything is happening for that reason that makes fans, if you really listen and pay attention, dive deeper into the love of the game and the love of what moments you can see beyond the dollar bills, beyond the NIL, beyond the transfer portal, beyond the possibility. This one moment, just as for yourself, when you got the second championship, the MVP, and all the family, you can't rewrite those. You can't hope that this is the way it goes. I mean, I told you when it came to that last kick, I was not watching that play for your guys' second championship, man. I turned around. I had the camera going, but I'm turning around, not even paying, because I'm thinking it could go the total opposite way, man.
Right.
It could change a lifetime. But instead, the book was written, and you get to cherish it, and you get to know that all those hours, all those times that you wanted to do something else. As we stated with Rahmir, he could have done anything else these past 6 years. And he was the dog that people dream of, because that's why some people don't fall in love with sports like they used to, or teams, because their passion ain't the same as ours.
Yep.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, their passion ain't the same. And I said it before, when Noah Fant chose Iowa over Nebraska, it changed my perspective of looking at athletes. Because the way that people will treat a 17-year-old, that you have no idea what their future holds or what decisions they're making for themselves, or who's like, but you want to rip them on this keyboard warriors, man.
Yep.
Take that stuff to the trash, man.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. I think what people forget to pay attention to is the human element of sports. They tend not to, how can I say it? They're so ingrained with winning, losing, that they don't see sometimes kids and players as people.
Yep.
So, you know, that's one thing I've always done. That's one thing I've always done as a player at the time, was treat the fans as people and want you to treat me as a person back. So they wouldn't understand what Tommy just said about his mom only seeing him 4 or 5 times play. They probably think in some reality realm that they're there every day, and they get to see this. So for me, it was opposite. What I never took for granted was my mom and dad coming to every single game.
Damn.
And me being in position to have both of my parents, one present in my life, but to have them at every single game. That's why a lot of my former teammates took the passing of my father hard, because he was there for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother was there for them as well. So they saw them at every other game. I probably have 100-some pictures with me and all of them with my mom and dad. You know, Pops, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? So that's the human element that people didn't see. They only saw us line up, catch a pass, run the ball, tackle. But they're missing our interpersonal interactions with one another as a family, as your coping system for when things go bad, when your teammate lost his brother, his aunt, his grandparent. You know, you're the ones there with one another. So a lot of times we were the ones helping one another get through those things. You get what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's heavy, and it's reality. Like Tommy said, the way you went out, brother, congratulations. That's a dream scenario.
Yeah.
And you did what you did, and you should never have a what if, woulda, shoulda, coulda.
Mm-hmm.
You did that. So I'm sure it made your transition to saying, you know what, hey, I'm done, a lot more smoother.
Yeah.
And I mean, it does, and people don't understand. And that, like I'm saying, it just goes back to the human element. It just goes back for me signing with the Giants, me getting hit by the drunk driver, me coming back to Nebraska to say, you know what, let me do my therapy here and finish school so I can graduate, so I can go to NFL Europe, and getting hit by the pizza man 4 months later. That's 2 major accidents that now I'm trying to, you know what I mean, recovering and get by. The human element, people miss, oh, what happened? Hey, you know, it's just, and when I finally healed, took a year off to heal and train my body back and got my body back into shape to where I had the Patriots trying to sign me, Washington trying to sign me, all these teams trying to sign me. And me saying, Canadian teams, I went to San Jose, Calgary, and me finally saying, you know what? My body's not responding. I'm going to do these workouts. They're offering me contracts, but I'm sore for 2 weeks. So when I walked away, guess what? It wasn't me just saying, oh, I just shoulda, coulda, woulda. I knew I left on where I'm unable to do it. I'm at peace with it.
Yeah.
And that goes to Tommy. Him winning it, this and that, he's at peace with it. Rahmir, the way he went out, guess what? He's going to be at peace with the way, even with all the injuries, his college career ended.
Yep.
To do that at home for his mom in front of his people, you couldn't ask for more. So I think he's going to be at peace with it, and that's good for him, man.
I absolutely agree. All right, well, we'll start to get it winding down here. We'll go quickly through what we call Husker Twitter, Tommy. I just pull a few things from Twitter from Husker fans immediately following some games. Losses, not so much, because as you know as well as anybody, they can be pretty toxic.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy to pull them after a win. So this will be much easier to do. We don't even have to discuss what the tweets are. These are pretty much just straightforward, be able to run right through them, and then Field Generals of the Week, we're out of here. Hallelujah. All right.
That's a win.
First one we got. Shab. I'm not even sure how the hell to pronounce this. It's from Shaba. It's 2 A's, 3 B's, 3 A's. Okay, OG Shaba _Racks. He tweeted out, the one thing I ask about 2025 Huskers is this. Slam the door shut on opponents. Stop waiting for them to fold. Stop waiting for the uh-oh moment to happen. Take the game over, slam the back door, and wish them safe travels. Play that wait for a team to mistake has cost us 5 games. Absolutely correct. I agree to 100%. Going forward, yeah, we got to fix special teams woes, obviously. But exactly, yeah, once you have that game in hand, you've got your foot on their throat, don't let up whatsoever. You keep pressing down. You keep pushing forward. You put more points on the board. Put it completely out of reach. Don't even let the opponent have an opportunity to sneak back into the game, and yeah, it's what we seem to do. All right. Let's see. Sam Hahn. All right. Tweets out. Got to a bowl game, won the bowl game, winning season, steps in the right direction. Absolutely. That's what a lot of people asked for at the beginning of the season. Just make it to a damn bowl game. A lot of people weren't even saying win the bowl game. Just make it. So, Sam, absolutely correct. And if anybody wants to follow Sam, at D.A. Hani.
Fun fact, Sam Hahn was actually my O-lineman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
He was my right guard.
That's what I think. Look, like I said, Tommy, I had no idea you were going to pop in today. So it's not like I pulled this knowing that you were going to come on and be able to see this. This is complete accident. Thank God.
Yeah, you already had a preset, man.
I did. Yeah, everything was already up in here before you even decided to come in here. All right, who we got? Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this account, but I thought this was hilarious from Barstool Skurs. Yankee Stadium was not ready for the corn-fed crowd. Officially out of beer.
Ooh.
Holy hell. You ran Yankee Stadium out of beer, Husker fans? My God.
Yikes.
That's a great stat in itself.
Yeah, that's insane.
That needs to make the stat book. All right. I loved this. This was from Avery Howard, at Avery Howard 31.
Fellow Hurrdat Sports.
Yep. I'm just saying, hey, these are just by chance that I pull these. These are all random. It's not like I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, taking those. No, I'm scrolling for a solid half hour to pull just maybe 4 or 5 things. So the ones I pull, it's kind of funny when there's a connection. All right, but she tweeted out, Coach Rule shares that Rahmir Johnson lost his mom in November. Rahmir told no one except for Emmett and only went home during the last bye week, so it wasn't a distraction, even when Rule urged him to go home. Rule shares Rahmir Johnson is the reason why he coaches.
Amen.
Absolutely. Those are the reason. Those guys like Rahmir are the reason that guys like Coach Rule want to coach, because that's, my God, for him to be telling Rahmir, go home, be with your family, and Rahmir foregoing that and deciding I'm only going to go during the bye week, so nobody really asks questions. It's not like I'm not there with the team. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing with Coach Rule and Rahmir. So, all right, last one, and this is by a good friend of the show and pretty much a good friend of every Husker fan on Twitter. If you don't know him, you got to go and follow him. He is what I call the living embodiment of Husker fandom, the Husker fan base. And that would be King Chris, Mr. Happy, at Chris Pearson GI. And he just tweeted out, I'm kind of sad it's the last Huskers game day for a while. I've had so many good memories from this season that brought me joy. First, I met Dylan Raiola at the road race. And lastly, met Roz Blazingame, which is Dr. Roz on Twitter, if you didn't know, who's been a good friend to me. With a smiling face emoji, he says, and I can't wait to kick off next season in KC. Because, yes, Chris is a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan, as anybody who follows him knows. And to have the first game against Cincinnati next year inside Arrowhead Stadium, Chris, I'm sure, is probably going to be there. So we're going to probably try and have him on next year for that very first game again. So there you go, folks. There's Husker Twitter for you. Pretty simple, sweet, easy to get through. And then got to let you know the last thing for the show, and that's our field generals of the week. And we always pick a defensive and offensive, and I don't think it's any secret as what offensive would be, and almost probably no secret to defense either. So we're going, obviously, offense is Rahmir Johnson, and defense, Vincent Shavers Jr. getting it for the first time this season. So congratulations to you guys, both deserving, both earned. Rahmir, I mean, if the guy would have been healthy his entire career, probably could have been our offensive field general damn near every week. So it's just amazing what you guys have done for us. And Vincent Shavers Jr., just the tip of the iceberg. Can't wait. All right. So, real quick before we get out of here, Tommy, I can't thank you enough for joining. The same for you, K-Dub. Let's start with you, Tommy. Let everybody know where they could possibly find you on social media.
Of course, my Twitter is the same, Tommy Gun 4, as it's been. I got 2 accounts now, my A4 Academy, stuff for my football. It's kind of what I'm doing now as far as helping quarterbacks around and just trying to teach them the game early. I think the thing that Nebraska lacks is the youth knowledge of how to become a good football player and know the game at an early age instead of waiting to get to high school and you're kind of 3-4 years late behind everybody else that has all these D1 offers because they've from other areas. But they can find me at either A4 Football Academy or my Tommy Gun 4 my Twitter account. I'm kind of becoming an old head since I got kids. I don't really be on it. I'm not really active, but of course
This man said an old head.
He needs to get that social media person for him because he's got the content, man.
Man, I'm becoming an old head, man. All my kids call me Unc. I'm like, bro, I'm not Unc. They're like, bro, you're 30 years old, coach. We call you Unc now. I'm like, bro. So yeah,
oh wow.
I'm enjoying it though.
All right, K-Dub, I mean, it's almost no secret where to find you. I mean, they can find you Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, as far as just yourself, but then you've also got Wired Access Podcast. Where are they going to find you and the podcast?
At Wired Access, that's with an XAXCESS. Yes, it's spelled unique, but that's what we do. Trying to give a sporting image unique, but always just trying to promote positivity for these kids. Social media could be a very dark place for athletes, and you see a lot of people making judgments that they haven't earned or credited. And for me, it's I want these kids to be seen in one way or another. I obviously focus a lot of anybody that has touched Nebraska, whether it is at a collegiate level or at a high school level, but it's just getting it out there on YouTube, TikTok, all that, which is hard because I'm older than Tommy, so it is hard to do what I do across the platforms. It's time consuming, but when you see kids success stories like a Will Kyle out of Bellevue that made it to South Dakota State and is now playing for the Mecca UCLA in basketball, those are the athletes of the Wise. And of course, coaching, on the same coaching staff to have Noah Fant, seeing him from what he could have done, staying out at Burke, win a championship, come to Omaha South and play because he wanted to play, right? He wanted to play both sides and he was kind of pigeon-toed. And I think when you see an athlete of that caliber do something like that, he had fun with his friends and his friends developed and got opportunities in college too. So it's those stories and those athletes. And of course, having the fun with the Omaha Beef these past year was very awesome. Obviously, I grew with Tommy. If you joke around after the championship game, my brother-in-law, because some lady was like, I don't know who that guy is, but is that your sister? And I'm like, yeah, Jay's my sister, and
Yeah.
that's his wife. And when you look at these athletes outside, kind of like what Kenny was saying, outside of the game, and you look at them as a person and you can have these conversations, and I was blessed this year, had some good ones with even Raiola down at Memorial Stadium. It's awesome because if I put it out there, what do you think Tommy would be doing when everybody else is celebrating at a bar? This dude's sitting there watching film, and you can't take that stuff for granted of what an athlete to be at a caliber of a championship caliber, no matter the level, has to put that many don't see. And they see the limelights, they see the flashing lights, they see all the camera views, they see all the highlights. But when push comes to shove and you're down and out and you have to pick yourself up and get back in to win the game, not everybody has that mental stability to be able to do it. And I got to watch one of the best in the game do it at a high level and leave the game that he wanted to leave in the right way. It's an honor. So I appreciate you guys having me on. And like I said, Kenny, you are one of the guys who made me love Husker football, because you're a grinder. You're one that didn't need to know that you were going to catch the ball. We knew that if the ball was thrown to you, you're going to catch it, but you made sure everybody else shined around you. And that stuff's that's what real fandom is really should be about, over the top player and all this or that. The team can't do it without 11. So thanks again, Brian. I appreciate it. And go Big Red, man.
Appreciate that, brother.
Hell yeah, dude. You're more than welcome. The job and the work you guys do with Inside Nebraska Preps, it's amazing. I mean, you guys give a platform to just about every high school in the state. It's great to see what you guys do, the way you cover not just football, but all the rest of the sports, basketball, wrestling. Just you guys do an amazing job giving Nebraska Preps a platform, period. And not all news stations do that. So at least you guys got a podcast that's doing it for them.
Hey, and it even hits the student section. If you didn't know, man, when we come in to do those things about the student section, we've hit the national level, to where people are using our post for judgment of a student section. So if you want to be a part of that big student section and you see DJ K of Omaha Wired Access with that big plug and play chain, man, don't be afraid to throw it on and rep your school, because it's getting seen. And they're seeing the school spirit, and that's what it's about, man. Getting those kids involved in school. Stay on the right track.
Right on. All right, everybody, you know where to find Tommy. You know where to find DJ K-Dub of Omaha. You know where to find Kenny. You see it right there at Husker Noop 1911. You find him on Twitter and Instagram. Of course, you find the podcast right here on Twitter and Instagram. You see it right there at Husker Army Pod. And then last couple things real quick is got to let you know about the merch, of course. Head over to hurrdatsports.com. Find yourself some merch over there. Send or post a picture of you with the merch. You get your own enlisted graphic. And then, of course, our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy Sports. Make sure you head over there, download their app, sign up, deposit using code Husker Army, and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and get yourself a free pick. So we covered it all. It was a great show. It was a great season. Great bowl game. Great way to go out for the team for the season of 2024. And my God, getting to have the special appearance, the surprise appearance by Tommy Gunn himself. I saw him sitting in there in the waiting room the whole time for like 3 minutes while we were talking. I'm like, oh, I gotta wait. We're in the middle of talking. I wanted to just click him right in right away, dude. All right, so everybody, you know where to find these two gentlemen right here. You know where to find the show, audio only. YouTube, of course, subscribe, like, hit the bell notification. Audio only is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, many, many others that Hurrdat has hooked us up with. So we are not done for the season, but this is the last one we will do on a weekly basis. I say that as we're actually going to do one next week anyway, but that'll be the one for January. We'll have a monthly episode from here till about August. So for myself, for Kenny, for Tommy, for DJ K-Dub, and for the Husker Army, you know what to do. At ease, you are all dismissed.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.